What do photographic film and paint thinner have in common? Well, drum scanning, of course. That's right, the same stuff that you would use to dilute oil-based paints is sold as scanner mounting fluid for film. In this video, I'm going to show you all of the supplies I use to safely drum scan my film using a wet mount process. Safety first. It is always important to thoroughly understand the hazards associated with using any chemicals before you begin using them. This video shows the chemicals I use, but does not constitute an endorsement of any of these products by me. I am also not sponsored by any of the companies I mention in this video. It is important to do your own research on what will work best for your process. Please remember, your safety is your responsibility. The beauty of the photographic process is that there are a number of techniques that can be applied to capturing an image to accomplish a given outcome. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that there are a number of products to choose from in order to get a good scan from your film. Sometimes that can make it more challenging to get to a place of clarity so that you can be focused on the photography part of creating prints and not get lost in the technical minutia. The combination of products I have chosen in my drum scanning process come from consulting with individuals like Armando Vergara, who I am just about convinced invented the drum scanner, but I'm not 100% certain. He's all over photography forums discussing drum scanning technology and has so much insight to offer us. There's also Michael Streeter from Scan Solutions, who has shared many tidbits that have propelled me forward into refining my process so that it became second nature and helped me troubleshoot problems with my Haltech. I also can't forget about Nick Landis, the president of Max Art Productions, for getting me started on my drum scanning journey by gifting me the Haltech 6500. That was an incredible gesture of generosity. Trial and error were also important players in how I arrived at my consumable selection. I think experimentation can be one of the greatest teachers in growing and improving your process. For simplicity purposes, I've divided my consumables list into two groups: the essentials and helpful accessories. Let's get into it. One of the most contentious products that you'll need is some sort of wet mounting fluid, also known as scanner mounting fluid. The universal benefits of a fluid-mounted piece of film include eliminating the appearance of Newton rings, smoothing over minor scratches, and minimizing those pesky little dust mongers. If you aren't drum scanning your images but want to improve your conventional scans, I would suggest reviewing Nick Carver's videos on how he wet mounts his film to improve his flatbed scans. Having a wet mount significantly enhances the outcome of your scans no matter what scanning device you choose. So my supply list could potentially be applied to a wet mount process for flatbed scans or digital camera capture. Are you ready to hear what my scanner mounting fluid of choice is? Gamsol! That's right, Gamsol! The same stuff artists use to thin their paints is the same stuff I use to safely wet mount my film to my drums. Are you surprised by that? Well, I was when I first learned that Gamsol was a viable alternative. Wouldn't paint thinner damage the film or the drum? It turns out, not at all. In fact, when you analyze wet mounting fluid more closely, you begin to understand that paint thinner is a common ingredient in the fluid used by most drum scanning services. Case in point, the very popular Cami fluid. It has a name that makes it sound like a specially prepared chemical designed to get the very best drum scans and not damage your film or drums. Well, let's analyze that more closely. The Material Safety Data Sheet, or MSDS for Cami fluid, describes 3 chemical ingredients. Are you ready for this? Less than 10% is mineral spirits, which are used to clean, thin out oil-based paints, and also evaporates quickly. Less than 90% is naphtha, another paint thinner used for oil-based paints. And less than 4% of this product is N-hexane, which is a cleaning agent. In comparison, Gamsol is 100% naphtha. Are you shocked? I certainly was when I was researching these chemicals. I much prefer Gamsol because it has no discernible odor and doesn't evaporate quickly enough to leave behind a hardened mass of hard-to-clean tape residue. Cami fluid inundates my airspace with a very powerful chemical smell. It's awful, and I don't recommend using it in an indoor space without some serious ventilation. I'm not sure how anyone who uses Cami fluid tolerates such a strong odor. It might just be me, maybe I'm more sensitive to it, I don't know. What I do know is that the odor alone has deterred me from purchasing Cami fluid ever again. I have about a whole bottle of that stuff that I'll just save for when I need to clean up gunk outside of my house. Did I mention the sloppy, hard to clean up tape residue? The rapid evaporative properties of Cami fluid are great for ensuring that the drum mounting tape adheres properly, but holy shit, does it make cleaning tape residue off of the drum a pain. It just about forces you to purchase drum cleaner so that you don't end up scratching your drum because of all the vigorous rubbing you'll need to do to get your drum clean. That is simply not for me. Gamsol does what I need it to do without causing extra work and adding unnecessary expenses. I use Gamsol not only as my mounting fluid, but I also use it to clean my drums, my film, and mounting station. It works great and won't harm my drums or film. The only caveat is that you have to be careful when you are taping your film to the drum and not use too much Gamsol because that will prevent the Tesa tape from adhering to the drum properly. Poor adhesion leads to air bubbles and can prevent the film from sitting flat onto the drum, which confuses the autofocusing mechanism of the drum scanner, potentially throwing the entire scan out of focus. Not to mention, you'll spend a long time trying to clean up those bubbles in Photoshop. I'll show you how I wet mount my film to my drums in a future video tutorial. There are other alternatives that I haven't tried that people use for scanner mounting fluid that I think might be worth mentioning. Some people use Sunnyside paint thinner, which is 60 to 100% naphtha. My only concern with paint thinner is how odoriferous is it when you use it indoors. Others use Zippo lighter fluid, which is 30% naphtha. Really? Zippo lighter fluid? The same combustible fluid used in lighters? Actually, all of these chemicals I've mentioned so far are highly flammable. Keep the flames away, or your film will be fire. You may also come across Scan Science's Lumina scanning fluid. Interestingly, if you analyze the MSDS listed ingredient for Lumina, you'll see that it is 100% paraffin petroleum distillate. That may leave you wondering, how is this product different? To answer that question, it is important to understand that the American Chemical Society developed the Chemical Abstract Service Registry number, or CAS for short. All chemicals have a specific identifying number. Lumina's CAS number is 64742-48-9. Gamsol's CAS number is 64742-48-9. They're identical. I'll leave it up to you to decide whether you think it's worth paying $69 per liter for Lumina versus $25 per liter for Gamsol. The last drum scanning fluid that I'll mention is traditional oil mounting. I believe it was common to use mineral oil, but I am not 100% certain. Maybe one of you guys watching this video knows and could share that information in the comment section. From what I understand, using oil to wet mount film makes for a not so fun cleanup, so that was enough information for this guy to not even consider this an option. The next essential consumable is mounting tape. Ideally, the tape should be made with glue that is chemical resistant so that it doesn't lose its adhesive properties when exposed to a wet mounting fluid. I prefer using Tesa tape 4104 because it is reasonably priced. However, it's not the highest performing tape when it comes to being resistant to the diluting power of Gamsol. As I mentioned earlier, if you're careful about not using too much Gamsol, this tape works excellent at a fraction of the cost of the better performing tape. Cami Safe tape sold by Aztec is what is recommended for better performance, but it is extremely pricey. As an alternative, you could opt to use a similar performing tape sold by Tape Jungle. I have tried all three of these aforementioned tapes and they all seem to perform in a similar fashion. In my experience, the combination of Tesa tape with Gamsol works for me, so that's what I like to use. I think it's worth mentioning that the color of your tape makes no difference in the outcome of the scan. Using clear tape doesn't mean that you can scan through it and not notice that there is tape present. You will see it clear as daylight. So there is just no advantage to tape being transparent in the scanning process. Who would have thought that tape could be so exciting to talk about, right? In order to make a scanning sandwich of film and wet mounting fluid, I use Aztec's AZ42 4mm optical grade Mylar in the 9x11 size. They also sell it in the 12x18 and 20x24 for those of you scanning ultra large format film or trying to cram a whole bunch of smaller format film onto your drum. Unfortunately, I have found that sourcing a viable, cheaper alternative is a bit of a challenge. Some folks have had success with a product made by Graphics called Duralar, which is thicker and comes in a variety of sizes that could accommodate 8x10 film and larger. I haven't tried this option yet because I have been fortunate enough to acquire a few brand new boxes of the AZ42 Mylar on the used market for a significantly marked down price, so I'm well stocked up. If any of you have tried the Graphics Duralar, please let me know in the comments section what your experience with using this product has been like. As far as the AZ42 Mylar is concerned, at 84 cents a sheet, the only way that I've found to save some expense is to reuse the Mylar several times. Okay, like 10 times before I toss it out. But I do this in a very specific manner to maintain the integrity of the Mylar and the quality of the scan. I always leave the top edge of the Mylar attached to the drum like a flap. It also helps that the Tesa tape in combination with the Gamsol is very easy to pull back and doesn't cause permanent wrinkles to form in the Mylar. To date, I have performed hundreds of scans reusing the Mylar and never once saw a difference in the quality of the scanned image. The Mylar just disappears like it's not even being used. Again, I'll make a video on how I wet mount and remove my film from the drum so that you can get a better understanding of what that looks like. Another essential item is the AZ optical wipes that help clear off dust and tape residue while being gentle on your drum, Mylar, and film. They are 12x12 inches and come in a pack of 150. I use a lot of these, I mean a lot, because this is an item that you really don't want to reuse on your drums or film because that can lead to scratches. Fortunately, the Aztec wipes are actually a great bargain because of their ridiculously huge size and quality of the fiber used. Other alternatives like the PEC pads are much smaller, more expensive, and aren't nearly as high quality as the Aztec ones, in my humble opinion. I have tried PEC pads, Kim wipes, and other off-brand optical wipes and found myself always going back for the Aztec AZ optical wipes. The good news is that since Gamsol evaporates, you can save these discarded dry wipes and use them for other projects that you may have going on. Personally, I like to save them for when I'm painting to wipe up spills or gluing wood to wipe off the excess. So that's a great way to make these awesome wipes go even further and help you get your 29 cents per wipe worth. If that's not exciting enough for you, I purchased a plastic squeeze bottle, also known as a wash bottle, to easily dispense the wet mounting fluid. The bottle is made of polyethylene to resist solvents like Gamsol and Cami fluid. These are readily available on sites like Amazon and are relatively inexpensive. The reason why you want to have a squeeze bottle like this is so that you can control the direction and flow of the scanner mounting fluid as you're dispersing it onto the film. You'll also want to have a sharp pair of scissors to make it easier to cut the mounting tape when you are sealing off the edges of the Mylar so that the scanner mounting fluid doesn't escape. Should I even mention that? What the heck, I'll leave that bit in the video. Let's move on to some helpful accessories. While it may seem intuitive, I can't stress enough how much faster wet mounting film is when you use a dedicated heavy-duty tape dispenser like this one. It makes cutting tape to the length you need a breeze. Can it get more exciting than that? I also like to use these blue shop towels alongside the AZ Optical wipes, not as a replacement, but as an adjunct. They are quite helpful to have on hand. The first time I ever saw one of these silicone rubber rollers was at Maxar Productions when I was filming my video on the making of a huge print. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link to it in the description. In the process of mounting a photographic print to acrylic, the artisans at Maxar use these clever rollers to pick off any dust particulates so that they aren't permanently sandwiched into the mount. I have found that this roller, which is marketed as a means to cleaning records to increase the sound quality, to be a welcomed addition to my wet mounting process. I use it on my film to clean up as many of those little dust mongers as possible before mounting my film on the drum, as well as cleaning and drying the film once I've removed the film from the drum. It really does a fantastic job without causing any harm to your film, like peeling off the emulsion from the film base. Rest assured that I've happily rolled away on my film and have never damaged my film. One last consumable that I like that I don't always use is the Novus plastic polish number 1. After reusing the Mylar a few times, tape residue can gather onto the surface. So I'll just use a spritz of Novus polish number 1 to buff out the Mylar to a brand new shine. It works great. Finally, now that I've gotten all that scintillating information out of my system, I can get back to talking about some more fun stuff like large format photography in my next video. Do you drum scan and have any input on what consumables have worked well for you? Please share with all of us in the comments section so that everyone can benefit from your experiences. If you've enjoyed this video, please support my efforts in making content by hitting the like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. As always, thanks for watching. Lee Schmidt doesn't make cleaning tape residue off of the drum a pain.